same one for 3 years.
It's the same one, man. You might as well change it up every now and then. You mix it up.
Yes.
You mix it up a little bit. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNBA show.
Boop, boop, boop. I'm bad at it.
Oh, you didn't have it. Let this be a lesson to you. If you ever get to be on the DNBA show, you better come with your intro noise.
That's if you give me a heads up. Not 5 minutes ago.
I gave you a heads up with 4 years of shows.
Don't you watch the show every day, bro? Yeah, you got to be ready.
We got a great one for you lined up today. I have heard some rumblings of a very surprised player out of summer workout. Somebody who's really impressed, and it's not going to be somebody you would have guessed. It's not going to be somebody you would have guessed, but somebody who's really stood out. We're going to talk about that as well as some other rumblings. Gilbert Arenas upset about Hakeem Olajuwon charging $50,000. Actually leads to an interesting topic I want to get into.
I kind of have some thoughts.
I have some thoughts on it. Vogt has created his top 5 things he wants to see this season. We're also going to talk about how we're running it back. Year 2 of the same team. How could it be different? Or is it going to be the exact same? And then in that light, we're going to snake draft sequels.
Hey.
Sequels that were better than the original, or at least
Heads up, Adam's
best
going to
sequels.
steal mine.
I'm
I'm
definitely going to steal yours. Should have never shared it. You guys, we got a great panel today wearing women's clothing. It's Brennan Vogt.
That was great, but I wasn't prepared for it. I'm happy to be here. I'm feeling good. I feel like I look good, but I won't speak for other people's opinion on me. But I'm happy to be here.
Just saying, you said it was your new brand. Is it a secret brand I wasn't supposed to
No, I
share?
just wasn't prepared for that particular intro. This is a women's jacket, is what Adam's trying to tell you.
He was proud of it a minute
I
ago. Now
couldn't tell.
wasn't he proud of it a second
Yeah,
ago?
he
was
told
bragging.
us. I wouldn't guess.
I wouldn't have guessed it either, but he was very proud. Then I bring it up, and he's very embarrassed, so I don't know what to do here.
It's just a hilarious intro.
And joining
Shout out
us
to the
second
pod
time on the
listener.
DNBA show, all the way from Israel, Denver Nuggets super fan, a.k.a. Den Nuggets fans on Twitter. It's Saeed.
Guys, I wore Adam's favorite color. It doesn't look like it, salmon, but I had it for you before. Don't get your head pink.
Wait, great work, man.
Thanks,
That's what
man.
I'm saying.
Thanks. I hope I look good, but I try.
The chat will let you know. They don't hold back.
The chat will definitely let you know.
Chad, back me up.
Guys, we said this yesterday. I just feel like we're on a hot streak with good shows, man. Been having nothing but bangers for like a week and a half or so lately, and I'm just telling you, it's because the off season we were all tired. It was a long season, this or that, but I'm ready. The heart is ready. Saeed, are you ready for the Nuggets? I mean, they're in training camp in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. I mean, I could not stop this offseason. I could not stop just watching highlights. I'm like, my wife was happy when they won the championship.
Yeah.
She thought I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm not, she was fooled.
Yeah, no, this is just the beginning. This is where I really dive in.
It's like I got you get emotional about that run because there is.
Yeah.
I mean, we waited so long. We've been, I mean, maybe I'm the shortest time, but man, that was an emotional run to a lot of Nuggets fans that they waited for years, and they got it in an amazing fashion.
Congrats on the wife, by the way.
What?
Just congratulating you.
Yeah.
I've been married for 9 years.
Yeah, it was a weird
good for you.
2 kids and 1 on the way. So
Hey, there you go. Well, so yesterday on the show, we were arguing about what games were the best to go back and rewatch. Okay, by the way, you kind of laid
I did
me out.
rewatch only one
Because
game.
you said it best Nuggets games. And everybody was mad because they were like, well, game 5 is the best game, which again wasn't, even with that verbiage, I would disagree with.
Yeah.
But this was like, no, you go back to rewatch them.
I could have thrown rewatch in there.
I've only rewatched 1 game. And I did did initially.
You've only rewatched 1 game?
I did want to, but I watched a lot of highlights. But I did rewatch that 1 game, which is game 3. Because
Which one?
Of the final.
Of the finals,
It
okay.
meant so much to me that after the game 2 they lost at home, and I was like, kind of freaking out. I'm like, oh, this is Miami. They've done it, blah, blah, blah. The fact that their stubbornness, their mental toughness, they went and they got triple-double. It never been happened before in in any game, NBA game, preseason, playoff game.
in the finals.
I love that it happens in the final. And a must win.
Mentally tough, those 2 guys together, and they both got 30-point triple-double. That was just, to me, I'm still not grasping this idea or this that game. Just I had to go on how did that happen? And it's not like you feel it, but it was just amazing to me.
There's also performances where a player, no matter how great they are, plays above themselves. Like, I think Jokic's game 1 against the Lakers was that. You couldn't expect that from Jokic every night, even though he has it in him. It was like, yeah, but he was also especially on fire that game.
Right.
Game 3, to me, was not that. Game 3 of the Heat series was Murray and Jokic are that good. They just were focused because they knew they had to be. And they dominated and they picked apart all of the adjustments that Miami had made throughout the course of the first 2 and then 3 games.
Right.
They picked them all out. And I put this on Twitter. After that game, that was the emotional apex of the series, in part because it felt like that was Miami's best and that was Denver's best. And it was better. And so from there, games 4 and 5 just played out because there was nothing else for Miami to do.
I was thinking about this. I almost said it on the show yesterday when you asked people about the most dominant duos of all time and the peaks of those duos and the best duo finals performances. People are going to go to Pippen and Jordan and Kobe and Shaq, as they should. Who is the duo with a triple-double in the same game in the NBA finals that they'd go on to win?
After they lost at home and they're playing in Miami. That was like, that's
so there's
just
no
the whole
qualifiers
story.
on that. It's like a top
It's
duo
the climax, man. It's like
it's as good as a duo has ever played together when it matters.
And what was interesting about that one, because you could argue that the talent level of that Miami Heat team is below, maybe it's a below average finals talent. I actually think that's true. Like Max Strus and this.
Yeah, sure.
But I think they were
tough.
But I think they were above it. Well, definitely mentally tough. They were in the top, percentile. But I think that they were also elite at their ability to mold themselves, their adjustability. They were very versatile. Their versatility. And even though they weren't supremely talented, they could make Denver like, okay, well, then you have to do this. Oh, you broke that. Okay, then you have to do this. And that game to me was, it doesn't matter what you do, the outcome's the same. They played a bunch of different strategies, tried to force the ball a bunch of different directions, and Denver just, in Murray and Jokic in particular, just every time down court was like, oh, they're going to front, boom, this. Oh, they're going to hedge, this. And it was just one play after the other, and that whole game was just a series of Miami throwing everything, a super versatile team being super versatile, and Denver being like, but we're more versatile.
Right.
On
And
offense.
we're mentally tougher.
By the way,
Mentally tougher, or at least equal. I would say equal and more talented.
Chat, adding on to your great point, 2 30-point triple-doubles, by the
Right.
way, not just unbelievable.
Not one.
Yeah,
Not one.
not one.
It is funny that
It's
Murray
never
had
been
a
done.
30, 11 and 10 or whatever, and had the second best triple double. Like Jokic also had a 30-20-10 game, which is also again only 3 players ever.
Right.
And he had it in the same game that another player had a 30-point triple double on his team. It was all time.
It's just unbelievable performance.
Emotional apex. So that game to me is among the most rewatchable. The only thing I'll say is it's the most impressive game, but maybe not the funniest. Like what makes for a great rewatch? Game 1 to me is the funniest, just because Jokic is doing things that are like what
the final
of the Lakers series. Sorry, of the Lakers series. But for me, emotional apexes: Game 3 of the Heat series, Game 3 of the Lakers series. I think it's Game 6 of the Sun series, just because even though Game 5 they won, Game 6 the beatdown was like the emotional. It was like, are you going to win close or are you going to win blowout? And it's like, oh, we're going to win like in hilarious fashion.
We didn't get this moment, right? But everyone remembers the Luka meme, looking at Devin Booker and laughing. When that happened, I remember being as jealous as I've ever been of another fan base for a moment. I said, I want that for us. Yeah. And then you're sitting there in Game 6 and you're realizing, oh, this is that for us.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Run the script
And
back.
what's funny, Jamal and Jokic, they're sitting just...
That's my favorite.
That's because it
Just
was
the
born. No, they
business.
were hyped. I will say this: they were super hyped
They just
in
had
the
a long
first
time to
quarter.
simmer
They
down.
had so much time to be like. I mean, they were up 20.
Oh,
The
okay.
Suns cut it to like 12 at one point, and there was like a moment of like, all right, let's see if they make
That
a run.
is
And
true,
Denver
but-
just smacked him right back.
Maybe this is an
Yeah.
after the fact pod narrative, but I'm with you in that there does feel like they beat the Wolves and the whole world was like, yeah, they should have beat the Wolves. They beat the Suns and we were like, wow, they beat the Suns. But the Nuggets were like, yeah, we beat the Suns.
Yeah,
Right.
no, they're
We're
like, no,
better.
we beat
We're
down.
ready
the
for
Suns.
this.
And
We're
then
ready for this.
The Lakers came and they knew before the rest of us
Yeah.
that they were going to
So
sweep
true.
them. So there was just this, but they didn't, they're challenged because I kind of think they knew around January that this was really,
I agree.
really on the table. And their challenge
so agree
was
with this.
going after it, but threading the needle of not getting too high
Yeah.
before the job is done.
Right.
And so there's this eerie calmness when it's the expectation for themselves, not just the goal, not just what they want, but when that's what they think they're going to do. And that was the poise that was palpable throughout the whole run.
True. Yeah, there are so many good games, moments. I mean, you can't go
perfect.
wrong
It's
with
a
any of
perfect
them.
run.
And this is
Yeah.
how I know the internet has ruined everyone's brain, is because we put out a list of like happiest moments of, basically it's like most rewatchable, have a good time. And people are like mad. What? No way. And it's like, guys, The exercise is these are also fun. You should have your own list.
Share your own list.
Yeah, share your own list. That's actually the fun part. Is like, no, for me it was Lakers game 1.
Right.
For you it was Lakers game 3. For you it was Suns game 6. Whatever it is. And that's the joy is that there was literally when we went through the list. Number 12, when we were doing honorable mentions, I was like, this is like a 10 out of 10 game. Yeah. It didn't even make the top 10.
To be clear, would rewatch all of them.
All of them, yeah. I will say the Minnesota series because I have gone back and rewatched them all now. It's just so uneven. The Nuggets didn't quite have their consistent 48 hours or 48 minutes of great play just yet. Let's move it on though, guys, because I have some headlines to get here. Gilbert Arenas, who I love, funny personality. He's on every podcast right now. He had a very strange video where he was knocking Akeem Olajuwon because Akeem is charging $50,000 for players to go work on their postgame. $50,000. Now, Akeem Olajuwon has top 5 footwork out of the post of any player ever, and probably top 2 or 3 post footwork. Maybe number 1. He has most people would say number 1 because I think he's the most dominant player with good footwork. But out of the post of big men. So players like Giannis, Dwight Howard went there, Kobe Bryant went there and worked out with him. He's an all-timer, but Gilbert Arenas thinks that he's too old. He's saying, Akeem played in the 90s. The NBA is too different. What are guys wasting their money to go learn from Akeem? Fair or foul, Brendan Vogt? Whose side are you taking here, Akeem's or Gilbert Arenas?
All right, I have a two-pronged answer.
Oh, he's going to be wrong.
I think that I am taking Hakeem's side in the actual argument. But the art of the take
it's a 10 out of 10.
I mean, you got to watch the clip. Yeah. It's so good, I almost agreed with him.
It's like he's playing one-on-one basketball with you.
Yeah. Listen, if you're funny enough, you can make any crazy opinion sound good.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's crazy. I also think it's been long enough now that there's more value in investing in the Zag, especially after a footwork-oriented center just went and won the title. There's something to, the center position has turned into this skilled perimeter kind of thing, and guys are learning how to play that way, and everyone talks about how the post-up is dead. Well, what does that mean if you're one of 3 guys who can post up? No one can guard you.
Right.
No one's ready for that.
Right.
And I actually think it's what some of the bigs who aren't Jokic need. Maybe Embiid a little bit, right? And I think double teams coming at you out of the post when you can practice how you pass out of that and what your offense looks like is different than they know you're just going to ISO on the wing 20 feet from the basket and maybe throw some late help and you throw it out of bounds. Like being able to operate out of the post is essential to Jokic's success. So maybe Gilbert was right for a moment in time, but I think we've come all the way around to there might be value in zagging from the zig.
Take. I like that take.
Yeah.
Said?
For me, I mean, nobody's forcing any of those players to go to Hakeem. It's like
also 50,000.
I'm offering my services. You're welcome to buy it or not, or pass it along. But I mean, he has a point. I mean, he probably not up to date on the style of the game right now. But it's still, I mean, it's just a preparation mentally too. And like Vogt said, you need somebody to be able to defend Jokic, and it's probably an emphasis. So it's a lot. He knows a lot about defense too.
That's a good point too.
So it's just more than, I mean, again, nobody's forcing. And what is he charging? 50,000?
50,000.
Yeah. That's nothing.
I know,
that's money
that's
to
the
us.
thing. It's yeah.
Not to them.
All of that stuff is always on a curve, because their money is just completely different. It's like when a player gets fined $50,000 and people are like, that's so much money. Like, it's actually not.
He doesn't even know it's gone. If you didn't tell him that happened, he wouldn't know.
It's crazy money. Yeah.
I think he is dead wrong on this one. I think he's dead wrong, Gilbert Arenas is. And here's the thing. The game has changed. I think, and I've said this with regards to Team USA, when everybody just says, oh, it doesn't matter. As long as we spend our best players, we're going to win. That may very well still be true. We're going to find out next year if that's true or not. But it's less true every year, in part because I do think, and this happens across all things. The whole world is just like mirroring other industries and other things. But it's happened in the NBA where we solved some of the dumb traditions of basketball and got them out. The long two, for example, the mid-range, the guy stepping on the line. You watch clips of, guy 3-point Mark Price back in the 90s, and he's shooting like 3 shots a game with his foot on the 3-point line, and you're just like, what the hell? We got rid of that, and that was a good thing. Even the mid-range pull-up, some of the ISO, some of the stuff, we got smarter about it. I think we overcorrected.
Yeah.
I honestly think we overcorrected a lot. And the NBA game, then you go to international competition where the rules are only slightly different, just slightly different in ways.
The style is a lot different.
But that's the thing, is the ripple effects of it are very large. And all of a sudden it's like, you know what, it actually might benefit you to have more traditional sized big men. Maybe the NBA has created a niche style of basketball that really values a certain type of thing and really undervalues another thing. But I think the post game and the post footwork, especially the way Akeem played it, Akeem wasn't just like Enes Kanter, just shooting up post jumpers and jump hooks. He was also a facilitator and a great passer from the elbows and this or that. There's still a place for that in today's game that a lot of players could benefit from.
When you put this in the rundown, I saw a clip this morning. It's a baseball clip. I'll try to keep this brief. It's Dante Bichette, who I actually think is a bit of an asshole legendarily, but that's neither here nor there. The clip is good. He is working with a young hitter, and in baseball right now, everything is about loft, bat speed, and the launch angle. And that's a large-scale trend that I think most role players or average players have been, okay, this is how the game is played. I'll adjust to. And Bichette is giving this guy a lesson on what it means to be a great hitter. And he's kind of showing him the art of hitting that's been lost as we've overcorrected to the analytical approach. And you can fit in to the curve by doing what everyone else is doing, but he's trying to encourage this guy to become not a great power hitter, but a great hitter.
Right.
And to me, it's actually structurally very analogous to what we're talking about right now, that when a sport makes a wholesale shift like that, particularly in the analytics era, I do wonder about a threshold cross where now there's more value than ever than going back and learning from the past.
Dwight Howard is the perfect example of this to me on one end of the spectrum, which is he was an elite pick and roll big. Roll to the rim, jump high, but it wasn't sexy. And the old guys, the Shaqs of the world, thought it didn't require enough skill. So they would always tell him he needs to post up because it does take more like basketball skill or whatever. But the truth was he didn't need to do that. He was very effective at a certain thing. So that's where these things start. But they evolve to like Andre Drummond. Don't learn to post up. Learn to run dribble handoffs. Learn to shoot threes. And it's like, it's Andre Drummond, you guys.
Right.
What are we doing? He doesn't need to be out
a big
here.
body.
Wasted of a big size. He should be an offensive rebounder. He should have a little bit of a jump hook, or at the very least, teach him how to have good footwork so he can facilitate from there.
Right.
To me, you can teach what efficiency is and still teach like, okay, the post, you have to be hyper efficient from here, but you become better hyper efficient by having better footwork or these various things.
Right. It may not be an efficient look right now because it's a deficiency, but if you address that, it could actually be an asset.
Can I have a quick question for you
please,
guys? Who do you guys think can defend or limit Jokic as of right now in the post-ups?
Almost no one.
It takes two people.
It takes two.
It doesn't take one. It takes
Even
Draymond and Looney. You know, it takes like two players working in tandem, and then Denver, when they have all their guys, I think can
When you say
punish
even Embiid,
you.
that's the best example, right? Denver was crushing them in that game. They took Embiid off of him so that Tucker could do it, and Embiid could be the roamer and the helper, and that's when it changed. So it is a two-person thing. But I do just generally speaking, I think, you know, as it pertains to the big man, the Warriors thing happened, and everyone thought our big needs to be versatile and do the things that Adam thought. And all those bigs got played off the floor anyway.
Right.
So maybe part of it was that no one could beat the GD Warriors. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you should turn your Andre Drummond to do a Clint Capella.
Whenever you win, everybody goes, we have to do that. And Jokic just won with great post footwork and stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if people are like, we need that. We need a better post guy.
He won with that style. When I open, I pass. When I not, I score.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, I am going to ask the question about Akeem. To me, is a guy that transcends eras. And that's why Gil's comments especially bother me, is it would have made sense if he was talking about, you know, Bill Cartwright or some other guy that was just a guy of the era or whatever. But it's Akeem, one of the greatest players ever. And I'm like, come on, those guys, their talents transcend. But we'll talk about it on the other side.
Having said that, it's a great clip. It
is
awesome
a great clip.
Oh, man.
And we just talked about it. So, you know, he did it.
What about a little coincidence here? Because our first read, Saeed, is Shady Rays. What did you do today? Will you tell the fine folks at home?
It's actually yesterday.
Excuse me.
I stopped there. I told them the DNVR sent me, and I'm like, all right. They give me a hug, coffee, a meal. No, just kidding. No, they treat me well. I can say that they treat me well. I picked 2 nice pair of glasses, and they gave me a really nice discount. They were super nice, and they hooked me up really good.
There you go.
And it's not, he's not special. He's special to us, but he's not special when it comes to this deal. Any of you, whether it's online at shadyrace.com or you head to their stores, if you use code DNVR, if you tell them we sent you, you will get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Not 15, 50, half off, folks. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Arcade's message.
Probably my only good feature growing up was my luscious locks, my thick, voluminous hair. You know what I mean? It's beautiful. But I'm getting older, and I'm prepared for the thinning stage. I've seen it.
Let me see.
Well, I'm under a hat right now.
I know, but I see if it's thinning there.
There's a little bit.
No, it's still pretty
So
good.
good. All right. Well, I know that time keeps on ticking. You know what I mean?
It does, man.
And if you're worried about thinning hair, you want to take care of your hair and make it look as good and healthy as you can, you do not have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. The #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Take the first step. Head to Nutrafol.com/men. That's Nutrafol.com/men. Enter code DNVR and find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair.
Alrighty, we are back here. Segment 2, DNVR Nuggets podcast, Hump Day edition. So, Akeem, to me, like, people wouldn't say this of Magic Johnson. If Magic Johnson went to work with Jamal Murray, I don't think it would be dumb of us to be like, that old guy? And it's true. Murray and Magic Johnson are completely different.
Right.
But Magic is such a great player that there's probably something he knows about the game and could share that would be valuable. And you'd also probably be like, Magic's probably not teaching him,
Moves
antiquated things
yeah.
or this or that. Like, there's something there. Akeem, to me, is in that category of players that I go, yes, it was a different era. Yes, they played the game differently. But guess what? I know this about Akeem. Not only is he smart enough that he sees those differences, he's written about this. Do you guys remember last year, the article where Akeem proclaimed Jokic the one?
Right.
The one.
He did.
And he also had another article years earlier in the Players Tribune where he talked about how he loves the evolution of the NBA because the big man is now freed. He's talking about the specific ways the league is different and talking about the ways in which his skill set can be adjusted to apply to today's era. Akeem is one of those guys that I think actually gets it.
Yeah.
To think that he would be teaching like jump hooks and like inefficient type stuff is insane to me.
He's not totally ignorant about the current style today. And to your point, when Murray went to Kobe's camp one day, it's not about the skills. He learned about the Mamba mentality. And that's what he brought in the playoffs many times. So it's just more than skills or moves. It's just also mentality.
So I'm glad you brought up Kobe because to me, I have thought this a lot. Kobe today, if he was around, I think would be doing these things. He was already doing them, but I think he would be doing these. And I have to be careful saying this because it can go too far and it can be crass when you put words in the mouth of somebody who's passed away.
Sure.
I have no idea what Kobe would think of modern day players or this or that. I will tell you, I wish I did. I think about this a lot. Whatever you think of Kobe and everything else, Kobe's perspective on basketball was really interesting. Really interesting. Sometimes he was wrong. Sometimes I should say he was
right
wrong.
about Jokic.
Sometimes I disagreed with him. But he always had an insight that would at least make me think about the game in a new way. I really, really, really wish we knew what Kobe thought of the Nuggets in 2023. We know he predicted Jokic would win an MVP, or he challenged him. He challenged him to, and he immediately went and won 2. That was before anybody else was even predicting it. It was so off the radar. We know that Murray went to his camp. I have long said that I think Jamal Murray is more like Kobe than he is like any other great player. Like people compare him to Steph, to Steph or to Dame or this that. I actually think Jamal Murray, it's maybe best to describe him as the point guard Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a scoring guard. He was a shooting guard, so he is wired a little bit differently. But if he was a little smaller and a point guard, I think Jamal, in today's NBA, I think he would play like Jamal. They have a very similar mentality. They have phenomenal footwork. People don't know that Jamal's footwork is underrated. He has great footwork. But not even just post-ups, side steps, everything. Like, he has phenomenal footwork. And that's obviously a Kobe's trait. I wish that we got to hear what he thought about this team.
Yeah. His nickname is Glitch. They called him in Canada back in Canada, just for all the moves he did. Yeah.
It's hard not to think he would have an appreciation for it. Again, only projecting and assuming and all that. But there's one of the things that was, I guess, ironic about Kobe in how the modern era criticisms we applied after the fact of like ISO obsessed or too scoring heavy and maybe didn't pass the ball the way some of the greats did. His perspective on the game always seemed kind of incongruent with that criticism in the box we put him in, despite his affinity for the art of scoring in ISO and making a tough bucket. He seemed to get the game as it pertained outside of just that, outside of just the one-on-one egotistic kind of American perspective on it. So I think he's a guy who maybe held his basketball beliefs lightly in the palm of his hand.
3 times in a row.
Right. And
3 shows in a row.
A lot of the things about Kobe which I didn't know. He's well educated around the world. Like he was trilingual.
Yeah.
You know, he grew up in Italy.
Yeah.
So you think he knows about the game internationally. So he's
appreciated it.
Right. And so he probably got some skills. So with that, like he was more. I didn't know that, and I appreciate that. After his passing, but
yeah. I think just for me, the NBA to me, I do think when it's all said and done, 2020 is going to be the cutoff of a year where like we look at the NBA as a different era. And the last 3 years or 4 years, whatever it's been since Kobe passed away. I mean, he passed away. It's weird to think he passed away right before COVID.
Right.
Think about how different the world is like from that moment on, basically. So he was out right before all these things. And I really wish I knew his opinion on a lot of these little micro changes and storylines that have emerged in the last 4 years. And I just wish we had his input because I genuinely, again, I hate to put words in his mouth, but I genuinely think he would have had a very special affinity for the Nuggets, this Nuggets team. Not a general appreciation of like any great team.
He's not a
fan.
But
I think he might have been like, that's beautiful. Like you got the Murray piece of this. That is, he's so intense. He's got the Mamba mentality. You got the Jokic. Like Kobe loved the intellect of the game. I think he would have looked at Jokic and been like, this guy has solved it. I think that would have been really cool. And then here's what got me thinking about this. That video that we talked about yesterday of him and Jelko Obradovic, where he's talking about calling Jelko. That's a Kobe move. This is a Kobe move. This is the thing that was different about Kobe. Kobe was reaching out to random coaches. Like, there's always stories about I get a call, somebody says, hey, it's Kobe. And I'm like, come on. And they're like, no, it really is. I wanted to know about and he read my book, or he did some weird thing where Kobe was just like obsessed with basketball that he would look at weird places for it. Jokic calling up or reaching out to Jelko Obradovic to me it just reminded me of Kobe so much, where I'm like, of course this dude is doing these random things.
Right. Well, I remember the article, but I don't have much to add except I agree. He doesn't show that. Like he shows like, oh, the job is done, I can go home, kind of thing. Yeah. He does not advertise himself very well, but on the inside, he really cares and he holds on to the details. And
he began to operate as an agent of the game, not right. So like a consultant, an ambassador to everyone, right? The collective knowledge base growing was good for basketball, right? So it wasn't, and we know Kobe coached youth teams and all that, but it wasn't necessarily coaching or training so much as it was obsession with the game and a willingness and desire to share and learn. By the way, that is something that's what's so cool about that Jokic video is I can see that. This is a guy that's so smart and has seen the game differently. And I don't know if he would have an interest in training or coaching, but I do think he could end up in that arc where he's just sitting around and he's realized something and he makes a phone call, that kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting.
And then it made me think, how surprised would you be if Jokic ended up becoming a coach?
Right.
Because I think we all have this default of like, Jokic likes basketball, doesn't love it, wants to go back to Sombra, loves horses more than basketball. He said many times, basketball's not my whole life. But then I look at this and I go, the Jelko Obradovic story is very interesting. I've told this before when we were in Serbia. Jelko Obradovic was a very good player. Not a superstar, but good enough to be on the national team for Yugoslavia. They came to him one time, administrators, which included former legends, and they basically tapped him and said, I think it's time your career's up. You are destined to be a coach. What you offer to us now will be more valuable at coaching. And then he's like, I'm a player. I'm getting ready for the FIBA World Eurobasket. And basically, they convinced him to retire and to become a coach, and he goes on to become the greatest coach. And it just shows you almost the Serbian mind frame of like sometimes you're selected for service, and like it's your job,
and you have to take the call.
You take the call or whatever. And times have changed. Let's be clear. That was 1980 or 1991, I believe, or 1990. Times have changed, but I do wonder if Jokic in himself just kind of wakes up one day in retirement and is like, nobody thinks the game like me. I have all these guys and I love the game. I just wonder if like this is what I do next.
But again, I could see it more in like kind of what we were talking about than the here's my camp, you pay me, you come to me.
It's not gonna be that.
Or I will coach your team.
Yeah.
I also wonder too, and I'm curious on your perspective on this.
Okay.
Because this is something that I think has been part of Jokic's growth. Sometimes when a player is as smart as Jokic, they hang up in communication or coaching is that you simply do not understand why they don't understand. Having said that, I think we've seen Jokic evolve a lot from this kind of stuff to helping guys figure it out. So I'm just curious if you think like that could be a hang up for Jokic, because he seems to understand the game in this almost immediate way that I could conceive of frustration when others don't get it.
Let me even preface it one more way, Said. What if it is more like he goes into this year, he's always been reluctant to talk to people, but then maybe this is the year he realizes people like that. And oh, by the way, I like that. I like telling
He was
guys what to
already
do.
vocal. I mean, he was already vocal
sure.
a lot of times. What you point out on the list many times that how to defend, how he directed Gordon not to like step in on. I think it's in the Minnesota series, and he's directed KCP to move on so he can lob to Gordon. So he already sees the game, and he got enough people that on his IQ level, and that's what Gordon said right before last year, or finish of 2 years ago after the Warriors series, that I want to go and work on the mental and the IQ level. I think he's going to be a great coach, but he's not a very. I mean, it seems like on fan level, he's not a very people person. I mean, he is a people person.
No,
he
I think
likes to
that's a
party.
fair-
I mean,
But maybe he'll coach in Serbia.
Right,
I do
right.
think some of this
That
is
I could see.
cultural.
That I could
I
see.
would be surprised if he became the Nuggets' head coach in 10 years.
I mean,
but
would he just go back to KK
he won't be
Jokers?
Tim Duncan in that.
yeah, you know what? Maybe he's
That to
KK
me, I could
Joker's
see
head,
that
and
more
KK
than-
Joker somehow rises to
Right.
be like
Right, the
in
third
EuroLeague.
club. Yeah.
We comp him a lot to Tim Duncan, but Tim Duncan stuck around after, until now. I think he's in something with a team.
Oh, yeah, he does
He's
have a minor role.
like
But he
a-
also disappears for large stretches of
Of
time.
course,
so-
and I don't know if Jokic will get on that level, but I think he just sees the game completely differently. He can for sure coach guys that are able to see the game that way.
Yeah, my thing with Jokic is that we make assumptions about him that are logical assumptions because he gets stuff he gives us.
Right.
But that there's always this curveball in all of it. And people that watch basketball seminars on YouTube, hour-long basketball seminars, people that watch random EuroLeague games and then call with advice because they're thinking of strategy, like that is people that are obsessed with basketball.
Yeah, that's sicko.
That's not like I just casually watch
sicko
the
behavior.
seminar.
Right,
No,
right.
this guy is a bit of a
Studies.
junkie, and oftentimes that just runs a little bit deeper.
I mean, don't you think when he said basketball is not my life, I think he means more the NBA, the
Correct.
NBA lifestyle, the NBA.
I think he also means
drama.
basketball, but I think Greg
But-
Popovich would say the same thing. I think he would say basketball is not my
that
life.
doesn't mean he doesn't love basketball.
But he's obsessed
But-
with the game, with basketball. I'm not obsessed with being in the, getting another contract while I'm 36 till 40,
Yeah, I think
just
he
to
just-
make the money. I don't think that part of it. Of course, that's my analyzation, but
Sure, we're projecting, we're guessing,
projecting, of course.
Before we get out of the second segment, I just kind of quickly want to run through a couple little, I guess they can't call wind chimes. Just some things I've been
Saeed
hearing.
chimes.
Saeed chimes. Saeed says.
Said.
I have some things I've just been hearing about the summers. Summers kind of go different ways. It's going to take some time off. You don't want everybody to be all sick of you. But you start to reach out and just say, all right, camp's coming up. What's been going on in the summer? Two names pop up the most when I'm talking to just different people kind of in the know. Again, this isn't always team stuff. This is sometimes just people that are around the team, various people. Number one, I did hear Jamal Murray's back in town, so he's been doing some stuff. He was back in town. I think this is his second or third day he's been back in town and working out. We'll get to him in a second. Heard Christian Brown looks even more confident, more athletic, and just more has more to his game than what we have seen previously.
That one, I don't
Big
think
standout.
I don't think that was supposed to be
That wasn't the
surprising
surprise.
because that's the least surprising thing I've ever heard. That guy.
There's a lot of buzz with him though that he might be, because I'm skeptical of a leap. I just kind of feel like I know what he is.
Sure.
Better at the things he is, but maybe.
Well, you know what I'm
not.
not skeptical on is work ethic.
Well,
Like I
yeah.
just know that he is a guy that's obsessed with it, dude.
If I was like Christian Brown's a little out of shape, he gained like 15 pounds. You'd be like, what? No,
happened?
No
yeah,
way.
Yeah, not a chance.
He's definitely has a more stable role with the team, not a roller coaster like last year. He's a rookie. Does Malone play rookies? Blah blah blah. It's said and done. He's part of the rotation. He'll be playing every night, and that's he can prepare for that better.
That's true. But he's probably preparing for is having the ball in his hands a bit more. I wouldn't say a ton, but a bit more, because that's the leap I think he would need to take to grow out of this role where he excels, but to become something else for the Nuggets.
He connected with Jokic during that playoff runs, just give and go, and like he sees the game and he's quick to react. And
but he's too intense not to take an off season to try to get better after a title. Complacency is not in his vocabulary, I would assume.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, a lot of buzz around him, a lot of excitement, and again, while I still think I know exactly how Christian Brown's season's going to go, maybe not. Maybe there is a little bit more that we haven't quite seen yet. I will say one thing about him. I do think I'm worried about the Nuggets missing Bruce Brown's attitude. Christian Brown played like a freshman, not a rookie, a freshman last year, where it was like when you're a freshman on a team, it's like you don't want to rattle any feathers. You can't fully let your personality out because I'm the new guy here. I think that the Nuggets need his attitude. I hope he pisses off. Remember, we thought he was going to be pissing off everyone. Like that was his reputation. He didn't piss anyone off last year. He guarded well.
Right.
This year, I do think the Nuggets are going to need him to strategically bring a little bit of an edge, that in a positive way, not in a Dylan Brooks way, but in a positive way. So that's one thing.
Or like the Indiana Pacers 16 dunks game, and Bruce gets the steal and the dunk, and he's so pumped, and the crowd's so pumped. Like that, Christian Brown can be that guy.
Oh yeah.
The guy that has been the surprise for me, who's been a big standout, I've heard, is Reggie Jackson. I've heard Reggie Jackson has had a very good summer.
I sure hope.
That he has been extremely intense and focused and driven.
And around
all summer. And that, I think that he probably sees himself. This part is me just talking now based on what I've heard, but probably sees himself as a pivotal role this year. And I think he's right. But there is some optimism, I think, about Reggie Jackson and what he's looked like over the summer, that he's going to have a bounce back sort of impact season.
I sure hope so. Like, we need him. We need a backup point guard. We need not to play Jamal, I don't know, like 30, at least through the regular season, not so many minutes. So I hope it works out. I hope he can be the leader on the second team. Second unit, sorry.
Yeah, I will say in Reggie Jackson's defense of whatever impressions last year may have made, the other vets got here at training camp. He was a later addition with not a ton of runway. No, he didn't play well, but as far as like getting here, absorbing the culture, contributing to it, realizing you have an opportunity and just becoming the best version of yourself in Denver, I do think he's owed more time. Yeah. So I'm skeptical because he's been in the NBA for a while, but I'm not closed off to this possibility. This is a guy who has contributed at a high level at times for teams in high leverage situations. So this isn't off the table for Reggie. And he actually did have, after the Memphis game, I don't know if, was he around? Yes. He was the one who was saying, you guys have to hear how these guys talk to each other in the locker room.
Right. No, he felt different.
That's when I realized.
When guys have been around for a long time and then they get here, because it's different as like a second year player. You're like, all right, came from a bad situation. He's been around.
So he's got a taste of that last year. Then they want to win the title. And he's like, hey man, this is awesome. And I don't want to be a bus rider on it this year. I'm going to do what I can do to be a Jeff Green or DeAndre Jordan, or hopefully even more than that, actually. So I'm excited.
So I will say I do think there's a little bit of excitement around the team, just optimism, because I do feel like it's a young and hungry group of guys that are here. The vets, I think, are not quite in town yet outside of Jamal, who I hear is back already, and then Reggie. But the young guys have been in the gym, all summer, as most young guys are, and I think there's like an optimism about how they've developed this year and just how hard all of them work.
I love that.
I don't think that there's any slackers or guys like this. I think they've had a really strong one. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, Vote's going to talk to us about what he wants to see this year. What would make this year unique? What would make the sequel better than the original?
I love it. I also love my beers from Breck Brew. The Breck beers at DNVR are awesome. No slackers at Breck. They're constantly grinding to innovate the game. They want to create new flavors, new beers for you to try so that you have one for every game, every season, maybe every day of the week. Just kidding. Drink responsibly. But no matter how much they push or innovate, they never lose that core beer quality. Just what you're looking for when you want to open an ice cold one. So it's always worth checking out a Breck beer. We have so many of them at the DNVR bar. Like the Broncos Country right now, it's in season and it's only $6 here at the corner of York and Colfax. If you're looking to drink it from the comfort of your home, check out the Breck Beer Locator at breckbrew.com. Tell it where you live, tell it what you're looking for. It'll tell you where to go next. And very excited to once again talk about our friends, Backus and Schenker.
Oh, yeah.
We want to have your back here at DNVR. We want to have Colorado's back. It's community. Yeah, Backus and Schenker. They got everyone's backs. If you are hurt, it's not your fault. That could be at work. That could be in a car, motorcycle. You want to call these fellas and their staff. It's a big staff, a lot of manpower there. And don't worry about calling them. A consultation is free when you call them at 222-2222. In fact, them taking on your case is free. They're not going to charge you unless they've won. And they do win. They've been winning for over 25 years in Colorado. So check out our friends at Backus and Schenker. Call 222-2222 or check out coloradolaw.net.
And we are back. Segment 3. I was thinking about this a lot, man. I mean, I've thought about it a lot all summer. The Nuggets are going into a title defense year. Will there be a letdown? Just emotionally, even if it's a good year. And let me ask you a question, Saeed. Mm-hmm. We waited all this time for them to win. If next year, let me lay out a hypothetical season for you. First 20 games, okay. Nuggets don't quite look so great. One or two starters look like they're getting their engines revved up, short off season. Then they get really hot around January, have a great January. They look like the best team in the NBA, 6-week stretch. Then they kind of coast to the 1 seed because nobody's really chasing them. So they kind of coast to, we'll say, 54 wins. Then they dominate the playoffs. How good of a script is that in your mind for this upcoming season?
Isn't that what just happened?
It's the exact script from last season.
It is, yeah.
But I'm asking you,
as it goes, the last month was terrible as a fan.
And the first 6 weeks.
Because they never done it. And now I can be more relaxed. But at the time, they never done it. I'm like, what the hell? Even Malone was, I think you mentioned it on one of the shows, Malone was nervous. I don't know what's going on. So if Malone is nervous as a fan, we'll be dying. I'm like, what's going on? Don't lose what you build up, for that 2-month stretch. So, but now if they repeat the same thing, the same scenario, I think I'll be more relaxed. The whole fan base will be more relaxed because we know what they're going to do in the playoffs.
So you think you'll enjoy it as much, if not more, even if it's the exact same thing?
I won't enjoy the losing.
The real question.
Can I tell you something about how I watch the game? So, for me, it's it could be 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So sometimes I don't wake up that early all the time. So when I wake up at 6, I cannot check the score. Even if I can stay, even if I couldn't watch it early in the morning, I had to wait till that night. I cannot check Twitter. I cannot check anything. I block everything about notification till I get to watch it. Because if they lose, I can't watch it. So if they know they lost, I can't watch it. So I have to go. I watch it another 12 hours later, knowing that I don't know. It's I'm watching. This
is a great
live.
point. If you get a game spoiled for you, but your team wins, it sucks. But it doesn't suck that bad because you're excited, and then as you're watching the game, you're almost less nervous because it has a happy ending.
Sure.
But if they lose, no matter how dope the game is, you either can't watch it or you watch it and the whole time you're something awesome happens and you're like, man, they wasted this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it kind of ruins
And I'm not
it.
a fair weather fan. I love watching the Nuggets. I just don't enjoy watching knowing the result that they lost.
Of course, that makes all the sense in the world.
For you, does the script need to be different? Even if the outcome's the same, does the script need to be different for it to have the right punch?
I think so. I also think just the way fan anxiety works, while ideally rose-colored glasses, you see the same beats and you think, we know how this story ends.
Yeah, so
It's actually going to be, they're so complacent already.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I'm joking. I get it. That's how fans react and understandably so. So I do think the anxiety would still be there. But because also that the complacency is the one, I don't know about you guys, I feel like complacencies and injuries are the biggest barrier, more so than the opponents. Teams can beat them, but no one clearly leapfrogged them or arose as the challenger to me. For the Nuggets, it's really about themselves, right? So fighting against complacency is, I think, maybe the top thing we would like to see early that just makes us go, man, I'm all in for this ride because I think they're doing it again.
Right. and I think, in my opinion, I heard so many people, they think they're going to just coast the regular season. I don't think so. I think they're going to prove something.
Really?
I think they might break the 57 record one. Well, just because you have Jamal Murray is hungry for an all-star. Aaron Gordon is hungry for all-star. Of course, Nikola Jokic, I think he's going to get it. I think they're going to prove something in a regular season.
That's a separate thing. That can't go together. Put it on your list. I just saw you update your list. But if it is, put it on the list somewhere. But that has to be different. I like your 58 wins take because to me, that's one thing that would make this year interesting, especially the end of the year. Like last year, I had my eye on it, but early on when they started to take their foot off the gas, you were like, they're probably not going to get there. So there wasn't that much tension about it. This year, that would be one way to make the final 2-3 weeks of the season is if you start looking at it and going, they're on pace for 59 wins. Like, are they going to do this? Break a record, put your name in the record books that this is the team that did it. To me, that would be one of the things that would make the script a little bit different. We talked about Jamal Murray having a breakout year. I mean, Murray's already broken out as a playoff player, but if this is the year he becomes an all-star or something, that would make the year better. I always think MPJ career highs are just great. Like, we've already seen Murray 50 pieces. We've seen Jokic 50 pieces. The difference between 51, 53, it's cool, but them setting a career high is not... Porter setting a career high this year means he scored 45, 50 points. That, to me, is like, join the ranks, man. That would make the season so fun.
He never got 40 points yet. I think 37 is his highest.
39, maybe?
Oh, so
maybe 39. And then, like, I wonder if there's a trade. Let me ask this before you get to your list. Do you feel...
It's a hard list.
Do you feel like a trade this year is more or less likely than previous seasons going into the year?
More.
For who?
The Nuggets.
More.
Oh, general, okay.
But not because of
the Nuggets to make a trade.
But not because of where they're at as an org. Like, we need one. There are guys like Zeke who are at a point in their contract and career where it's just, you're either going to help us on the floor or help us as an asset, right, in the trade market. And so I do think, and it's a bench that has question marks. It's great that we are hearing good things about Reggie Jackson. I don't think it's many people's plan A for the backup point guard. So I just think there's a possibility you get to the All-Star break and it's the 6 through 8 could use a little work. I don't know.
Calvin has kind of, we don't quite know him yet. It's only been a year. It's only been 2 off seasons and 1 season. Maybe he does. Maybe he's a wild trade deadline person who just like throws out a deal we didn't see coming.
Historically, outside of Gordon and Plumlee, I don't think we got a mid-season trade that
well, Tim Conley was definitely on the low end of guys that like to make trades. He was more conservative.
But outside, but he did every year, I think, like a trade or some sort. But the meaningful ones are Plumlee and Gordon. But a mid-season trade that's going to make happen, I do believe it, and it's going to be the Vlatko, Jeff Green comp.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to play that role?
Ooh, I like 555 here. He says winning the first ever in-season tournament would make the season more interesting. I hope they take this seriously because I would love to win that, man.
I have a theory that everyone thinks that they have to think themselves in or out of caring about this. And what's going to happen is it's just going to be a night, and you realize if they win, they move on, and if they lose, they don't. Yeah. And you're going to want them to win that game.
The more they win, the more you're going to get into it. So the Nuggets start 1-0 in the in-season pool play, and we're going to be like, all right, we're into it. They start 0-1, you're probably like, I'm out of this. I'm not into it. But if they go like they're 3-0, that 4th game, you're going to be like, come on, baby, close this thing out.
Yeah. If they make it to the finals, we want a winner's lounge, and the loser's lounge would stink. Like this stuff is going to happen.
Yeah. All right, but vote.
Okay, this list is hard.
You had to make a Bet365, never ordinary, top 5 boxes you want to see checked this season. What did we call this? Your wish list.
My wish list. This is a combination of things that I think make the season dope and maybe unique.
Yeah.
So dope in different ways than we've seen before. But obviously, I have to start with what you think is implied. But guess what? I even have an opinion on this. Obviously, they have to repeat. We'll put that at number 1, Alyssa, repeat. But this is not a default answer. Repeating is one of the hardest things to do in sports. I still think it is fair to look at the lay of the land, the way Nikola Jokic is playing, and think we should expect the Denver Nuggets to win a title. I think of him as a Jordan and a LeBron, and it's not a guarantee that they do, but no one got good enough that I'm going to I expect a title, so repeat is number one.
Steph KD Warriors 1-1. Now they won a second one years later, but it's almost even a little different.
Yeah.
The Heatles won 2. You know, Kobe and Powell won 2. Kobe and Shaq won 3. Like, it means something to win 2.
Means something
just
to win
like
2.
It wins something to me 3.
Has
like
Tim Duncan ever repeat?
No. Tim Duncan has never repeated.
And I'm going to say
That's
it.
a great
They
one.
should repeat. If they take this season the way we want them to, they're the favorites.
So I think I like it. A repeat alone, you're right. That makes it memorable.
Let me ask you: repeat winning the playoffs or repeat going to the finals?
Winning the
Repeat is
finals.
winning it.
Winning the title.
Winning-
Winning the
We're
title.
over the hump of going to the finals
what I'm
being a
saying.
check mark. Like
Yeah,
we've already
that's-
checked that box.
That's my take
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
It's got to be a championship.
Championship.
All right.
Number 2, it is time to see Jamal Murray make the All-Star team. And I think Jamal Murray making the All-Star team once would have looked like he's forcing it. It's too much of Murray taking shots. I love that Adam
He's
has
a Jamal All-Star.
Jamal All-Star. Adam has dug in on this all summer, and I think I might have let this slide through my memory if he hadn't. Murray's playmaking leap in the Western Conference Finals and Finals in particular is insane. And he doesn't necessarily have to become a chucker to make an All-Star team. He could actually take this leap as one of the very best playmaking point guards in the league.
Would be
This
so sick.
This can all be done
His
within
points per game actually doesn't change, but he's averaging
but it's
9.5
more
assists.
efficient, and then his assists are and
Yokes up
that's
to 30 points.
Yeah,
We're like, we got
yeah.
it all wrong.
Jamal making the All-Star game can happen without them changing what they like to do. So I'm throwing it up there.
Porter's the one that actually makes the leap, but it's because of Jamal.
Right.
He becomes like a
Jamal
full
just
point
cannot
guard.
stop diming him up. What a segue, because what's number 3? An MPJ breakout season. We know the Denver Nuggets can win the title as is with MPJ doing his job as is. We just saw it. But man, go look at
Look
the
at that
highlights.
season.
Look at the 19 points per game when he first started. Porter is capable of more. And more from Porter is more fun for all of us.
This one, I'm
Is
telling
that
you,
a
man.
breakout in like an all-star?
It is a bit open-ended, but
Okay.
will you guys allow me
I'll
to
allow
just
it, man,
will you guys
because I mean,
allow
we'll
it to
know
just-
a breakout
course.
from.
You'll
just-
know it when we
He's
see
very
it.
consistently good. I will say, man, I love Jamal. Like Jamal's won me over several times, from my early skepticisms in his career or whatever. There's still something about MPJ though that's different. It just hits different for me, man. Like
it hits different. The
does.
reason I have Jamal number 2 is because I actually think if it
Yeah,
you
it's
see
more-
an
it's more
observable
impactful.
lead,
It's
you're
more
like, dude, they're
impactful.
not losing.
they're
So,
they might not lose for 6
having
years.
said that, if you get 2 and 3, one is definitely happening.
We're cooking, baby.
So MPJ breakout season 3. This gets really tough because there are a bunch of things I want to throw on this list.
Just do 4, and then we'll do honorable mentions before 5.
Okay, I'm taking 58 or more wins. I was actually.
You want them to have it.
I want them to have it. I think they
Yes.
want to have it.
Yeah.
I think they kind of wanted it last year, but they realized they were up against how do we approach this? The playoffs are more important. Shout out George Karl. I don't want those tweets. They're good, but we were better. I want 58 or more wins.
I will say this. I love the 2013 team. I think a lot of fans do because it did mean something special. Melo left, and that team a couple years later kind of felt like we're going to be okay. It was a
Right.
false hope, but it was like, we're going to be okay or whatever. So it meant something. At the same time, man, I'm sick of having to pretend that team belongs in the pantheon of all-time great Nuggets
No.
teams. It was a very good and a great story. They caught hot, and that's a great story in and of itself. This team needs to be remembered as the greatest of all time in
And I think
every sense.
I think that's the only record they didn't break out of that era, George Karl era. Except, okay, the 1,000 wins, but like, that's a risk.
All right, let's do some honorable mentions. This one I thought I moved in and out of list a couple times. 16 or 4 or better in the playoffs. I'm going to say better. I'm going to say improve on 16-4, but it's only an honorable mention.
Dude, if you go 32-8 over 2 years or better, like that is a real. Last year I was shocked at how few teams went 16-4 in the 16 game
It is
era. It's such
run.
a short list.
Yeah.
That list would get even shorter if you go down to like over 2 years. I'll bet you it's like 1 or 2 teams.
Now, Bruce Brown feels like they shouldn't have lost those 4 even, right? And I think that's a bit silly, but maybe they're right. And I think, if this happens, it also feeds into this, right? Last year, they ran through the easiest run. It was the 8 seed, blah, 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 blah. If it's a new playoff field and they just do the same thing again,
It's difficult.
get out of here.
Yeah,
So,
it'll be difficult because now teams are more prepared for them.
another honorable mention, I just have 2. This one is for Mr. Michael Malone, a top 10 defense, finally achieving it. getting there. And it would also reveal to me that they're fighting what we were worried about, complacency. A top 10 defense can't be achieved unless you actually care in the beginning and the end. We saw last year they could have done it, but they didn't for that reason. Mm-hmm. I think if you have a top 10 defense, it's, man, they didn't come here to do it
Top
again.
10 defense would be it's not going to happen, I don't think.
No,
but
not.
it would be a great thing to have a feather in your cap where you're just like, oh yeah, remember when you guys used to say they were good defense? Come on, like, they're good at everything now.
They have a top 10 defense, then you just know, like, they showed up this year to be better than last year.
Right. They'll be in the playoffs.
Having said that, it's not number 5. Number 5 for me, it is time. You have the best offensive player of all time. Can you finally record the best offense of all time?
Let's go.
First of all, if number 2 and 3 are happening, buckle up for 5 for sure. But this is one that is on the table. You have Jokic. I think the second unit has a chance to look a little better because they can get stops. Mm-hmm. I know the defense one won't happen, but this one could. Best offense of all time. You know what I'm a little tired of hearing, no matter how true it may be? Defense wins championships. What if offense wins championships? Let's go with 5.
That's the Warriors in 2016. They didn't get the job done in the end, but their offense went to a whole other level where it was like, wow, man, they are just like haymaker. I would love this year to be the year where the Nuggets throw a haymaker punch roughly 60% of 70% of games, where a team is like, man, we're neck and neck with the Nuggets late in the third. And the fourth quarter starts and the Nuggets go on a 20-0 run. And you're like, remember when you guys thought this was a close game? Lights out, go to bed. That's what the Warriors did in 2016. I'd love for the Nuggets to have that punched behind them. All right, we got to keep it moving. Let's take our last break. On the other side, we're going to snake draft sequels. We're talking about the perfect Nuggets sequel. Well, let's snake draft a little here today. Saeed's even going to help us snake draft his own.
Suck so bad.
Broken Tee is the coolest golf course. It's vibey. We're all about vibes. It's an award-winning practice facility with 27 total holes, 18-hole championship course, and challenging par 3 course. It's a stocked pro shop. It's not just the course. It's they've got sick gear, wall-to-wall drip, and a great restaurant too. And why it's at Broken Tee. If you're looking for a whole golf experience, a vibey golf day, you gotta check out our friends at Broken Tee and use code DNVR10. When you do, go to BrokenTeeGolf.com, punch in code DNVR10 for 10% off any round on their regulation course. Check out our friends at Broken Tee. Also really excited to tell you about Kind Love, one of the original dispensaries, 2010. They're one of the first dispensaries of the original marijuana boom here in Colorado, known for cultivating some of the highest quality cannabis in the state, authentic genetics, patient grow techniques. It's just a high quality brand. I know that because I've tried it. I really like Kind Love. I like the price. I like the customer service. You know what I really like? DNVR for 25% off in store. Are they a little out of your way? Guess what? You're not going to find a better neighborhood discount than 25% off. Make the trip. Go to Kind Love. Tell them we sent you and enjoy everything that you would hope to enjoy from your classic dispensary menu, plus their new turbo joint line. Visit their website at kindlove.com. Use that code DNVR for online ordering and their full extensive menu.
All right, let's get controversial here. Do we have the board list? I kind of threw this to you late. Who do you want to go first, second, and third? And we can get started, and I can send you the list as we're going. All right, I'll go. Let's go in this order.
You go
We're
first.
going to be snake drafting the best sequels of all time. In honor of the Nuggets getting the sequel, I can't believe I got to go first.
I just want Saeed to know, like,
Don't steal mine.
It
Adam.
looks really easy from home. You're about to find out.
You're about to find out.
I'm under pressure right now.
I'm going to take Godfather 2 with my first pick. One of the all-time best movies. It might be better than Godfather 1. I actually won't say that. I think they're both equally as good.
Yes.
Godfather 1, Godfather 2, absolute bangers. I'm taking it with my number 1 pick.
Yeah, one of the best movies of all time. Probably the best sequel of all time. It's a good pick. I
feel great about my draft so far.
am going to go.
How many do we need to pick?
Well, we're going to go back and forth till we get... should we do 3?
Maybe we can do 3.
We can do 3 since we have 3 people.
I'm going to go with a recent cultural phenomenon that had a big impact on my life. Don't know if you can tell at home. Top Gun, Maverick. Throw it on the board.
Top Gun. This one really did influence your life a lot.
It's actually so much better than the original. I don't care for the original. I don't think it's good. The second one is awesome.
You don't think it's good? Here's the problem with young people analyzing old things. They exist within their time. Like, you know, this is why all the like comic book movies of the 2000s are kind of dark. And then when you watch Tim Burton's Batman, you're like, it's silly. It's like, yeah, that was the time, man. We weren't trying to depress ourselves.
I'm with you on that. Top Gun is Top Gun 1 is unintentionally funny to me.
But it was even at the time. I'm telling you, it's like dudes being bros. Like that was the time.
There was a self-awareness to it.
Like, yeah.
However,
we built this city. It's like the vibe of the time.
But the second one to me was like just an awesome action flick that kind of managed to free itself from the propaganda part of it too. Top Gun Maverick, I love it.
All right, so
Cool.
tell us
So I
your
get to
terrible
pick two.
movie. You get to pick 2 here, but start with your first one.
All right, it's terrible, all right, but
We should go 4 rounds. I think we can do 4 with 3
all right,
people.
Do it
okay.
live.
So I'll go with a special movie to me because the first time I was in a movie theater was for the Rush Hour 2 in 2001.
It's actually a good movie, though.
My selection of movies is going to be either action or comedy action. So that's what I watch. I'm not a drama.
It actually is a good movie, though. Rush Hour 2
It
is
is.
a good one. It's fun.
It is.
If
I was
has it aged
14,
poorly? I don't
no
know.
English, so I enjoyed only the action that I saw.
Yeah.
All of that.
That's actually probably a great movie for foreigners because one of the principal people doesn't speak English.
That's right.
It's like,
It's also a great pick. You just showed up and you drafted true to your heart with pick number
that's how
one.
you do it, baby.
You know,
That's how you do it. You're going to lose, but that's how you
It's
do
all right.
it.
It's all right. It's all right.
All right.
Where's my picture?
Mine was Godfather 2.
Okay, so I go again?
Yes, you go
Okay.
again.
I'll
fix the order.
pick a really cool movie, and I love the story of it. It's the Batman: The Dark Knight.
Oh, it's a great one. It was on my
Dark Knight,
list.
yeah.
The
for
Dark
sure.
Knight, just the in the whole movie, you have to always pick between the good and evil. No, the bad and worst. They always put you in those situations. It's either you, I don't know, you die or you kill two more people, and you live.
It's a good one. Everybody likes Dark Knight. Your board is going to be doing very well.
I will go with one of the more universally approved of and valued sequels in history. The Empire Strikes Back. Throw it on the
Yeah,
list.
that one.
It's an obvious one. I actually think a great number of Star Wars properties are overrated. I think the universe somehow has more appeal than most of the properties themselves.
I agree.
However, Empire Strikes Back
Holds up. It's
great
good.
film.
Yeah,
it's a great film.
It's really good.
So I'm taking that.
That's a really good pick. It's a strong pick. I can't knock that pick at all. I'm going to lose this draft, but I'm going to draft to my heart. I'm taking Before Sunset. Love that movie. It's my
great
favorite of the entire
one.
trilogy. It's one of, I think, just like a truly romantic movie. There's something very romantic about that movie. Also, another one of those movies that makes you want to go to Europe, makes you want to go to Paris.
That's true.
Just phenomenal.
Start a lifelong affair. Just like
It really
a whole,
does.
It really
exactly
it's-
what I feel every
yeah.
time. After that, I'm going to go to 22 Jump Street.
Whoa!
22 Jump Street.
This is the biggest surprise in 5 years of podcasting.
I love 22 Jump Street. I think it's hilarious. I also think it's a rare example of a movie.
I don't think I watch it for the record.
It's funnier than the first one. It's also like they leaned into the fact that it was the exact same movie with the same beats, but they do it in a way that's so hilarious. It's like, it's great. I think it's a great movie. I took 22 Jump Street.
Love it. Is that back to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, I think, an appreciated film and yet an underrated film. My favorite Ryan Gosling film,
What?
Blade Runner 2049.
All right.
That is an aesthetic powerhouse. It's one of the most beautiful films ever made.
Yeah.
It is so visually compelling that even the beats of the film that don't do it for me draw me in. I think it's I think it's an all-time great movie that is viewed as a good movie, and I think it should get more love.
I'm going to lose this so bad.
Yeah.
All right. Can I be the winner on the first
You
time?
probably can. You might actually.
Okay, my next pick will be Star Trek Into Darkness in 2013. I love that movie.
Wow.
Into
It's
Darkness.
a typical American in terms of like story. Somebody with like no success. He jumped into the spaceship, and it's because his dad is history. But
I want you to describe every movie. Movie
is
removes the same.
You're going to get a podcast on this network, dude.
but I watch it and I enjoy that movie a lot. It was a long movie. I remember that too.
And it's long.
It is
Not
long.
only is it good, it's long.
The one is gonna be okay.
The last one. This is your last pick. Make
funniest
it really count.
movie of all time. Hangover 1.
No, you can't take the one.
You can't take the first one.
You have to take the second one, which
So
is
now
like
you have
the-
to take Hangover 2.
doesn't have
and
to.
You're in
I don't
trouble.
know.
No,
Okay,
I'm just
I thought
kidding.
No,
you
it has
want
to
the
be a
sequel
sequel,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
But you're right.
But
one of the best
there's
movies
some
ever made.
heavy
The
hitters
two.
out there. There's
I mean, the
Terminator
two is just funny.
Really, number 2 is where you're going to take Hangover 2?
It's his draft, bro.
It is
Yeah.
his draft. That movie is the same movie, though. Talk about a movie that was like, what if
They're
we
all
just
the
did the
same.
same? Yeah, they're all the
same.
exact same. They're
And
not
the
even
same
hiding
character
it.
got lost. The same.
So every time he shows up at the beginning.
Change the character for one Christ's sake.
All right, Hangover 4.
All right. At some,
3, or
at
2.
some point, you got
no 4.
You got to draft to win a draft 2 at some point. So we're coming in. Oh,
Guys,
man,
back
I'm
me
so
up,
torn.
please.
Okay, aliens can't not make
Yeah,
this list.
you're pandering.
However,
Oh, wow.
It's not on mine.
That's like everybody's top sequel, you know. So good on you, not just pandering.
It's
Eric would have totally taken it.
for me. It is Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers.
That's a good one too.
I just love the Lord of the
You
Rings.
like it more than Return of the King?
Well, can I take a
Yeah,
third in
of
a trilogy?
course.
Oh, give me Return of the King then, if you don't mind, Alyssa.
I think they're both great. Some people liked the Two
Well,
Towers more.
I mean, the battle in Two Towers is like an all-timer, but the third is a better film start to finish. Return of the King, one of the all-time Oscar performers as well. More of a legacy award for the whole trilogy, but they just don't make movies like this anymore, man.
They just don't make them
just
like
don't
it,
make
man.
them like
they
that.
actually do make. This is all they make.
No, they don't.
They make Avengers and everything else. Like it's
Avengers.
Like,
Avengers, Lord of the Rings, famously the same thing.
oh, I'm saying they are in the same corner.
They're not even.
You don't think they're in the same corner?
Superhero and fantasy are different genres.
I'm taking. There's a lot on the board. Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade's there. Terminator 2, Rocky 4 is on the
it's
board.
Fast and Furious 6 with Dwayne
Ocean's
Johnson
13, Frasier. You could have taken Frasier.
yeah.
Better Call Saul, maybe, if you wanted to go that route.
There's so many.
I'm taking one that nobody's heard of. I'm taking 35 Up. Have you guys ever seen the 7 Up series?
No.
You never seen it?
No.
They took the people in the 50s in the UK, and they made a documentary about them, the 7-year-olds. And then every 7 years, they would check in with them. Okay, so it's almost like you're learning the lives of these different people 7 years at a time. The reason I like 35 Up, because every year they kind of go through. It's actually very sad. There's some of them like you meet a kid at 7 years old. He's got the light in his eyes and everything. Then you meet him at 14 and 21. And you just see how the world's beat him down. He's depressed. You know the world, and it's almost sad. You see this. 35 is where you get the most interact. People are kind of horror who they are. So it's like the sixth installment of it. You kind of seen at that point. You've kind of seen the full ups and downs and
full picture.
Of these people, and I think it's like a really fascinating thing. So I'm gonna go 35.
So it was
Up.
a documentary?
It's a documentary.
Of a real thing. Like
A real
they
thing, yeah.
put
Real
people-
documentary of people's real lives. It goes all the way up. I think they're all the way up to whatever in the 60s, you know.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good show.
We want to encourage you if you see it online, on Twitter. Obviously, we want you to vote in the poll. But
Toy Story 2, honestly,
If you
actually.
wanna-
Any of the Toy Stories. Toy Story has probably the best start to finish. No bad ones.
and drop your own top 4 of undrafted.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of cheat and play along. And please vote. Check it out on Twitter.
All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. Or
Great
else
job,
Buffs
man.
fans
Thanks,
are going
man.
to
Awesome,
storm
dude.
the
Thanks for having
the
me, guys.
building. Saeed, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm number
Natural.
All love, all the way from Israel to Colorado.
I mean, you fly across the several oceans. You never know. You could be on the show as well. Hit the like button on the way out.